Have you ever wondered what it takes to become a professional stand-up comedian? Me neither, but I'll tell you anyway. My name is Jack Freeman. I'm a stand-up comedian based in New York City that you've never heard of. And today I'm going to tell you the two surprising things it takes to become a professional stand-up comedian in 2025. The first thing you should know about becoming a professional stand-up comedian is that you have to have a unique perspective. Is that true? That's not even true. The first thing you should know about becoming a professional stand-up comedian is that you have to have a perspective. There are a lot of white dudes with beards and hats who do comedy, and not all of their perspectives are particularly unique, but the best ones at least have a perspective. Now, my comedy is a little bit different because I talk about disability in my act because it's something that very few other comedians can replicate. And that's something you should do. You should really think about what are unique things about you that very few other comedians can replicate, and you should lean into that comedy as much as possible. And sure, very few comedians actually ask themselves what's unique about themselves, and they can still be successful as long as they have a perspective. As long as you tell jokes from a specific perspective and stick to that perspective, you might find success, and you might find an audience that can sustain you. And that leads me to the second and most important thing you need to know about becoming a professional stand-up comedian. You have to have an audience. The biggest difference about becoming a stand-up comedian in the 2020s versus the 2010s and 2000s is that in the 2020s, we have control over our own audience. We can create our own audience out of nothing. There are three factors involved in creating an audience for stand-up comedy in the 2020s. The first one is obvious: social media. Now, I'm not going to tell you a lot about how stand-up comedians use social media to build their audiences in 2025, mostly because there are a ton of other videos about that subject, and also because I'm not the best example of that. Like, I only have a few thousand followers stretched over YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. If you want to become a professional stand-up comedian, you have to grow your social media followings, because in the industry and with your peers, the larger your follower count, the more successful you are considered to be. It's bullshit and I hate it, but it is what it is. Another part of building your audience as a professional comedian is your credits. A comedian's credits are like their resume as a stand-up comedian. Whenever a comedian performs in a space that's considered important, prestigious, or widely seen, that's a credit. So if a stand-up comedian has performed on a major streaming service like HBO Max or Netflix, that's a credit. If they performed at a major comedy festival, that's a credit. If they performed on a podcast or online show that's seen by millions of people, guess what? That's a credit. And very importantly, in 2025, if you have a YouTube special or TikTok account that has been seen by millions of people, guess what? That's a credit. Credits have never been less important to stand-up comedians, but they're still kind of important because they signal to the industry that you've reached a level of achievement that is widely recognized to be something valuable. And also, credits signal to an audience that a stand-up comedian is funny and has a history of being funny. But more important than your social media following and more important than your credits is your ability to sell tickets in any market. Really, when I talk about audience, I'm talking about draw. Draw is your ability to sell tickets in any market you go to. So when I say a comedian has good draw, it means that they have the ability to sell tickets in any market that they go to. And if a comedian has bad draw, then they have trouble selling tickets when they go to a market. Your reach on social media and your credits are both important factors when it comes to your draw. But also another factor when it comes to your draw is your ability to sell your show. Some comedians make money from comedy without having a good social media presence or without having good credits, myself included. I make money from stand-up comedy because I have the ability to sell tickets to my show wherever it goes. A lot of people will pay money to see stand-up comedy from a comedian they've never heard of. And that has to do with the comedian's ability to sell themselves to bookers, to venues, and most importantly, to the audience. The point of all of this is that to become a professional stand-up comedian, it takes years of hard work. It takes luck to be put in front of the right audience, but it also takes an imaginative approach to your career and a grinding mindset. And if you're watching this video, I bet you can do it. Break a leg.